our guest today is someone I've been following for some time now, and every video is just that the potency of every video that I get just fills me in a way that a lot of other information doesn't. It's the truth. It feels that it's going to empower us. It's going to help us evolve, grow, and create our realities from a place of awareness and knowing the things that we're not aware of, and shedding light on the things that are important for us to shed light on, so that we can grow and evolve. So some of the things that I'm intending to include in today's call, but it will go wherever it needs to go. Our guest is a Cancerian, so we're going to honor that flow. I'm a double fire sign, learning to surrender control. But some of the topics that I feel we can include would be lifting the veil is his YouTube channel. So definitely talking about lifting the veil, seeing with all three eyes, breaking free from the matrix by overstanding language. So I feel like he's a wordsmith, I'm a wordsmith, using words in a way that can help us experience empowerment and freedom and sovereignty. So we're going to be talking about the matrix, talking about freedom and sovereignty, talking about what are the most important gems that our guest can share with us today from all the content he's been creating and continues to create. Words, the etymology of words, which words to become aware of that we're subconsciously or subliminally saying things that are disempowering, and how can we use words in an empowering way? What are some of the traps we need to be aware of, whether it's out there in the matrix, whether it's in our language? What are some of the solutions? We're definitely a solution-based podcast where we want to leave these podcasts feeling inspired and motivated with the information that we have. How do we implement it into our lives? How do we what are some of the solutions to what's going on our planet right now? And I definitely would love to touch base on what's happening with the pandemic that started and continues to happen, and what are some solutions to actually break free from that. So our special guest today, Cullen Smith, is an author, a researcher, a producer, a digital creator, who specializes in the topics of etymology, symbolism, science, mythology, health, and nutrition. And included in that list is conspiracy, which is truth theory, really, and conscious evolution. Cullen Smith, brother, king, thank you so much for being here with us. Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here. Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be an amazing chat. So yeah, I'm always looking forward to it. Nice.
Yeah, brother, you have tons of wisdom, tons of information. I mean, a must subscribe to recommendation from me in terms of what you're putting out there. I'd love to just start us off with, if you can remember yourself back before you had your awakening or your awareness of all these things, what was one part of your story that has led you down this path where you see yourself now as someone who's creating all this content and educating and enlightening yourself and your audience? What's one part of your story that you feel has led you down this path?
The more comprehensive stuff that I'm doing now really started to kick in around 2012, when I basically, I've always had interest in all the different various forms of sciences, and particularly mostly the natural sciences, and most prominently biology and nature. I mean, I had always loved animals. That was one of the things since I was a child, was I wanted to be a herpetologist, a paleontologist, and then a herpetologist is the study of snakes. I loved reptiles. Steve Irwin was one of my heroes growing up as a child.
To Steve Irwin, yes.
Yeah, and so I just love,
and his family who are continuing his legacy. Shout out to them.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. They're amazing people, and they've made such a huge impact on me. Steve did. So I'd always loved nature and mostly animals, biology. I've loved to study life, and I had all these huge questions since I was a kid. Like I wanted to know the why. Basically, my main concern was why. Like
Why?
I remember just asking why about everything. Around that age of like 3, 4, 5 years old, I just wanted to know why everything is the way it is, why it works the way it does. I wanted to know the why of everything. Some people have a lot of other focuses on, on how and, and what and all those sort of things. But the why was the biggest issue for me. So around 2012, I was basically I was all into ancient aliens and all of that stuff. On the only thing I would really ever watch on TV was Science Channel, History Channel, or Comedy Central. I only liked humor, science, and nature, and that was pretty much it. 2012, I was, on History Channel, they were showing all the 2012 Maya Doomsday documentary series that they had produced and stuff like that. And I knew that there had to be much more to the story than just the doomsday, end of the world fear programming that they're constantly putting out. And, for if the, religio-zealous fundamentalist Christians, it's always end times. It's always the end times period. The world is always ending. There's always there's a Nibiru is always coming. Nibiru is always going to destroy the earth, and it's always the ultimate end, and the only way is to submit to somebody else's agenda is the only way to save yourself. And so I knew that there had to be that it was garbage, and there had to be a whole different narrative out there that was more truthful. So I started looking into all of that, and that sort of led me down. It was a magical period of time, 2012, 2013, where there was all these amazing documentaries were going up on YouTube like crazy, and the algorithms were perfect to where it actually recommended you the things that you were actually interested in. So if you're watching a documentary about 2012, you would get recommended another thing about ancient civilizations or something like that, where it's not like that anymore today. They've sealed all those cracks. They've perfected all of those things to where now if you watch a lifting the veil video, you won't get any lifting the veil recommendations in the sidebar that will play after that. Not even for myself. I mean, for my own, like if I watch my own videos, there's not even any recommendations on the side. So they've completely sealed all that up. So it was a magical time for information and for learning. And I'm really grateful and really fortunate I had quit my full-time job at that time, literally right before all of that happened around 2012, because it was a good job. It was fun, and but it was just very high pace. I mean, it was serving and special events coordinating. So I was just basically just constantly under like serious like rapid pressure, and it wasn't really stressful, but it was tense. So I spent about 2 years. I was like, all right, I'm going to quit, because I had saved up a lot of savings, and so I was like, I'm going to quit and dedicate my attention to basically just honing my skills, and maybe I'll be able to cultivate my skills to the point where that will allow me some sort of pathway to pursue something, doing some of the skills that I'm good at, because I've always been really good at, I used to be really good at drawing, and I've always been good at various different forms of art, and I was pretty adept at music. I haven't played music for pretty much since I've been doing this informational stuff. Like, you only have so much time, and I have to divide it, doing so many other things between physical maintenance and physical fitness and all the research, and then all putting out all of that stuff. So something's got to give. So the music pretty much.
It does fuel you, though. I feel like it's a break from the warrior kind of archetype of go, and I feel like sometimes music is great, especially as a water sign, to kind of replenish it's like your own medicine for self. I feel.
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
you make
definitely.
it a priority, but I totally get you, bro. It's like go, go, go. There's a bigger picture here, and it's like, yeah, learning to pause and replenish with.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's helpful for it's been a very powerful tool. Music is literally one of the, if not the most powerful tool for activating and enhancing all forms of intelligence, not just cognitive intelligence, but also it activates every portion of the brain simultaneously, and it works all portions of the brain, including emotional, including rational and logical and mathematical, and as well as abstract and artistic. So it literally activates every portion of what makes us human. So
do you think that's why the powers that be are fully kind of taking over the music industry?
Oh yeah, definitely. And there's actually I don't have any evidence off the top of offhand, but there's at least as far as what I know of now, it's just hearsay, but there's information out there that there's this guy, big powerful player in the Hollywood music industry. I think from what they called him was pretty much, I don't know his name or anything, but his alias is, AKA was pretty much the Tall Jew. And he was basically the big guy responsible for making the gangster rap.
Lear Cohen.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, Def Jam, Big Mogul. He's a big name in rap and like made DMX famous, made a lot of those gangster rappers famous. But also is being called a culture vulture now. They're like, why is this person who's not in hip hop culture coming in, creating very specific people to be our heroes that are glorifying gangster rap and taking it away from like KRS-One and Public Enemy, which also was pre-Def Jam, same record label, but it just went in a whole different tangent. And it was a complete takeover of the rap industry.
Yeah, and
there was an agenda for sure. Yeah.
And so it is a controlled agenda to specifically to target not just the black population and the youth, the black youth, but to target basically the whole society at large, and that's just the music industry branch. This goes on in every branch of society, from education to to politics to the sciences, the natural sciences. I mean, you name it. Every form of what we learn and what we are taking in basically as our diet, basically everything. That it's not just what we eat, it's what we consume, mentally, visually, spiritually, and socially. All of that stuff is being deliberately controlled to specifically dumb us down. And it's a strategic plan. I forget, there's that KGB defector, I don't know his name. He outlined specifically what the plan was, and it's to demoralize, it's to destabilize. That includes destruction of the family unit, destruction of the home, separation, and demoralization, which is what so many of the of the media is. And but so now music has morphed into what originally was about the message, and now it's and then MTV shifted from with music videos, it shifted from the music itself to the artist and their image itself, rather than the actual message of the music itself. But
there was a resurgence of like the 528 frequencies and like more conscious artists adding positive. It's kind of what I love. I don't know if you can see this relation, but back in the days when hip hop was starting off, people would go and dig in the crates and try to find these like classic. They were digging for the good music, and I feel like now we have that opportunity, finding out what's out there, whether it's someone on YouTube or someone on Spotify. Like, we have the ability to research and find these really golden, like find really beautiful singers and artists and songs that are out there. But we do need to, we can't rely on it being spoon-fed, because what's being spoon-fed is definitely not there.
It's garbage. It's garbage. It's absolute garbage. And they started the whole mumble rap, rap stuff, which is literally, it's basically an offspring of the drug culture. It's like, if you're on these crazy like I don't even know what kind of drugs they are, but if it's like bath salts and like, you know, these crazy drugs that are out there, it's like, it's just the only kind of rap you can do is like, oh, when I did it was a minute. And
it's an epidemic. You're right, and actually, before, I believe, have you heard of the prison industrial complex would almost sponsor artists who, let's say, weren't necessarily gangster, and would say portray the gangster, glorify gangsterism, so that we can get more people locked up in these prisons. I actually did a rap song about it called Music Industry. Now I feel like Big Pharma's come in and is saying, hey, just add lean in your songs, add anything that's gonna help us get more people on these drugs.
Pills, you know, pills.
Exactly.
I mean, I remember when I was in high school, like everything was Xanax bars and you know, kids wrapping their cars around telephone poles, you know, on Xanax, and you know, that was what everyone cared about, apparently. Wow. You know, and but that was all. It's all by design. You know, same thing with like the CIA creating the crack epidemic in the 90s, and all of that stuff. But so I've probably gone way off.
It's totally okay. It's just honoring. I mean, tangent. I mean, Black Lives Matter right now is almost like a cry out for years and years and years and years of an oppression of a race. So it's very relevant to what's happening right now. We're just taking it back to, like, hip hop started very underground, started off as a powerful movement to liberate, inspire. It was spiritual, it was conscious, and to now see it be, and it's such a powerful force. It's worldwide. Like, all the kids are listening to it. It's the #1 music genre. But going back to what you were saying, how music is so powerful. So if we can now be very selective with the type of music we're ingesting, and also maybe as artists like myself and you who create music, to remember the power of it and do that, use it consciously to help us and help others.
I do want to clarify that I was actually specifically referring to actually playing music, to actually playing an instrument.
To actually play an instrument. Okay.
Because I mean, I don't think, you know, I mean, you know, lyrics and spoken word and you know, slam poetry and all of that does have a powerful you know, intellectual effect
and emotional.
Improving memory in the hippocampus and all of that as well, which so the hippocampus is responsible for strength of memory, but it's also a part of the limbic system, and it's also responsible for emotional processing. So of course, the stronger that our memory complex is, and you know, this is the hippocampus is what we've covered in my Symbols of Power film series, is what is known in neuroscience as Amon's horn, or in other words, it's literally the ram. It's the ram's head, the ram's horns, and so it's also literally it's the RAM, the RAM, which is random access memory in computer software, which again is responsible for memory storage. So there is this huge synchronicity there, and I'm not sure how exactly that unfolds, how it came to be, whether it's just random synchronicity or if the computer software engineers literally design everything based off of the human biology, which I'm pretty sure that's how it is, because the computer software or technology in general, technology engineers are basically, I mean, they've long since been the most adept Illuminates, the most adept Illuminati throughout the eons. I mean, they've always had the most money, which gave them the most access to books and to writing and to study, which gave them the most access to materials to be able to build technologies, gave them the most access to be able to use all of that stuff. So of course, with more resources, you can wield more influence and more power over the world. So that's how the technology industry, you know, things like Bill Gates, Microsoft, are also the most influential in many other areas of society, such as, you know, public health and, you know, and, especially psychology and Project MK Ultra and all of that stuff. So it goes back to the ancient mythological essence of Lucifer or Prometheus, even further back. You know, Lucifer is Latin, which is like the Middle Ages or ancient Rome, but even further back than that comes from ancient Greek, Prometheus, or Eosphoros, or what it was, the Phosphoros, which was literally the light bringer, the light bearer, and it referred specifically to the Promethean fire, the fire stolen from the gods in order to give it's referring to the technology, the fire of technology, because fire is considered the most ancient, primordial form of technology. So, wielding that fire, but it also refers specifically to electricity. Technological fire from the gods is essentially the Promethean fire, is the Luciferian technologies, which, it's not like this crazy conspiratorial, like, oh, it's satanic and all that stuff. Of course it can be. It's all how you use these tools and these technologies. Technology is only a tool. It can be used for super empowerment, or it can be used for another things. And so that gets into the mythology of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and how you utilize, once you eat of the fruit of the tree of knowledge, how you're going to utilize that knowledge, and how you're going to apply it.
I was just thinking about Apple and how symbolic it was that it was an apple that was bitten. Right, it was the logo. Could you I know you do a lot of work on logos as well. I would love to, if you could just break down a few of your favorite words, the root, why. If you could just give us a few words that you feel like these are the ones we need to overstand the roots of them. Especially, I love that you focus on this area here, right? I feel like in ancient times, we go to school and they're teaching us alphabets and stuff that, but I feel like in the future or in the past, we would learn about what's happening with the pituitary, the pineal, and mastering our inner selves. So I'd love it if you could break down either some words that you feel would be a good start for our audience who are not into etymology, just to get us into it, and then maybe even diving deep into why is this so suppressed, and why are all the secret arts focusing on this area here, and how we can use that to either activate our third eye or become our more divine selves, or light body activations, or things like that.
Yeah, well, this area all up here, that's the frontal lobes. The frontal lobes are literally the most powerful, because those are the ones that are the most responsible for not just cognition, but also creativity, creative intelligence. And so the frontal lobes are everything. And old, early 1900s psychiatry, that was the first thing that they attacked, with the lobotomy, was they attacked the frontal lobes, and that literally is what made you in a vegetative state. So that's literally that the frontal lobe is everything. And in other species, like the cetaceans, the dolphins, the whales, they have massive frontal lobes. Their frontal lobes are extremely developed to much greater degree than human beings' brains are. And we covered that pretty in depth in my recent video series that I put out on another podcast that I did with some friends of mine. So anyone can check those out if you're interested in that sort of stuff.
What's the title, Cullen?
Well, I cut it up into
the latest one.
I cut it.
Series.
Well, it's in my recent videos.
Sure.
I put it in a playlist on my channel. Okay. So it's a playlist. I called it dolphin conscious or whale consciousness. Something like that. So you can find it on the playlists on my homepage of my channel. If anyone wants to check that out, I included a lot of really mind-blowing information in there. So it's a really awesome one if you're really curious about the stuff like nature and biology and consciousness and neuroscience and all and symbolism and like we covered. It was a very eclectic and very good discussion that we had. But
Thank you.
So back to your questions about the main etymologies. That's a bit of a tough question, because honestly, I'm not sure, off the top of my head. But if I was to say probably some of the most influential root etymons, which the etymon is basically the basic fundamental building block of etymology. The etymon is what is a root phoneme, is basically a root word. It's like a building block. It's like, it's like the amino acid which builds proteins. The etymon is the root building block which builds words, which goes on to string together to form compound words, which forms phrases and all of those things. So the root etymon is one of the most influential that I've come across. Is probably Proto-Indo-European root called, and I'm not sure exactly how to, I'm because you don't come across people who know how to pronounce these things, properly all the time. And I don't know the actual proper academic linguistics enough to be able to, determine how it's supposed to be pronounced phonetically just by reading the word on, from text. But it's pronounced, it's Behel or Bel, Behel. There's three, at least three, there might be four. There's at least three different root meanings, and not meanings, but three different etymologies for Behel. And but they're all related, and a lot of secular scholars will say that, just because etymologies are phonetically similar, or that they're homonyms or homophones, that it doesn't mean that they're etymologically connected. But in my work, I've shown that it's a lot deeper than that. It's a lot deeper than just, tracing our last connected historical documentation of these words, like because the ancient languages, they were mostly verbal. People weren't writing down their stories and all that stuff. It was mostly all transmitted word of mouth and vocally and verbally. So there were stories, and there were things that were transferring between cultures and across civilizations, that things that don't get documented on paper. And even if they do, you're not always going to find evidence for that on paper. So you got to go by really what I don't want to say intuition, because that is what I do, but that's not good advice to give to people. I've sort of done that because just I have a track record of just, so I would encourage to be curious like that, but you don't limit yourself to and most everybody in the spiritual communities are like, intuition is everything, that's all that matters, that's it. And if you want to do, if you want to see the things and to find and to learn and to produce the things that sort of I've come to find along my path, is that you don't stop with intuition. That's like that's the fundamental piece, but you got to go much further than that. And that's what I do for everything, is you got to outwardly verify, and you got to fact check, and you got to find, you got to substantiate your case and all that. But so back to the main track that I was on was Proto-Indo-European Behel. It's so influential. It's so absolutely influential because it refers to one of the etymologies refers to blow, inflate, swell, to blow, which refers to, it's the root etymon of, it gives us the words like ball, balance, ballistics, it's so bellow, the bellows, which are the things that you use to blow on the fire, which produces, which you squeeze the bellows, and that blows on the fire, which increases the flame, which increases the heat, increases the light, which links to the other separate etymology of Behel, which is bright white light, the white light, the fire, the flame, and this gives us other mythological references, such as the Celtic god Belenus, who is the fire, a supreme. He's the white, bright white fire deity, the sun god, essentially. Basically, the Celtic equivalent of Lucifer, or Prometheus, who is the bright white light, the white lightning, the brightness of the fire. The bringer of the dawn, the light bearer, the light bringer. So Belenus.
Cullen, I'd love to pause there for a second. I feel like there's so much focus, like when you research Freemasonic societies, Illuminati, music industry people, there's this reverence towards this character called Lucifer. So I'd love your take on, and like when you're saying Celt, like when Catholics came, they apparently like try to wipe out the Celts or the Druids. So like I'd love your take on, and then it seems like everything's upside down. Like what we're told is a good God is not, and what's we're told is bad is good. So I'd love your take on what you believe Lucifer to be, and we're not here to convince anyone to worship anything that's not loving or to worship anything at all. But what's up with that? What can you share on that?
Yeah, that's one of the hugest. I mean, everyone gets that wrong. Everyone is wrong about Lucifer, but almost, not everyone, but vast majority, like literally like 99% of people out there have no clue what Lucifer actually refers to, what it's talking about, where it comes from, the original etymologies, the mythology, the psychology. I mean, everything is pretty much they're going by like biblical just intuition. They're not even sourcing the actual. It's a huge one, but so
it's not even in the Bible. Is that accurate, or it's spoken about in a very different way than we use the word devil or Satan or anything like that?
Well, it is, but again, Lucifer is a Latin translation of what was originally in the Greek Septuagint, which again, the Bible is a compilation of the Hebrew Old Testament and the New Testament, and the Old Testament comes from 5 Hebrew texts, which are the same texts that create the Torah, and it's known as the Pentateuch, but it's also combined with the 7. The New Testament is the 7 Greek texts called the Septuagint. So the original Bible translations comes from ancient Paleo-Hebrew, and it comes from ancient Greek as well. So those are if you want to get to what the Bible actually means, what it's talking about, who wrote the Bible, where it comes from. God did not, and I know this is all very controversial stuff. A lot of people are going to turn off. They're all going to, call me evil and satanic and all that. That's fine. Do whatever you want, but I will still prove all of this with vast substance, all the facts. Like I will debate anyone on all of this, and I've literally got a full presentation written on my Patreon archives. I haven't done a public presentation of it yet. I'm eventually going to get to it, doing a full film on the Lucifer.
Thank you, Cullen. I really believe right now everything I was told is not only not true, but the opposite seems to be true. I'm really reaching the point where I want to surrender that I know nothing really, because every time I think I know something or I believe this person to be a hero, like one of my favorite things to say is like kill all your heroes, because it's almost like every single one of them was put there in place to help create this idea that we're moving forward or that they were on our side. But become your own hero. But and so if what do you believe the God of the Abrahamic religions to be? What do you believe Lucifer to be? Why was that? If it was flipped, who are they really, and why was it flipped?
Okay, well, to put it simply, none of this stuff is literal. There are no literal deities. And this is a huge, and I deviate from pretty much almost everyone out there when I talk about this stuff. Like, because I deviate, like I'm alone almost in all of this stuff, and so therefore everyone's gonna shut this off. I mean, they're not gonna want to hear this.
That's when you're speaking the truth, Cullen. That's when you're doing the right thing.
Well, the way to navigate all of these things is if you truly want to come to the truth about the world, about anything that you're passionate about, your belief systems, your own. For anyone out there, your own beliefs. And I've gone through all of this for myself, so I'm speaking experientially. And this is what you have to do. Like you have to. And I've been like this my whole life. Like I've wanted to know what things truly are. I've wanted to know how the universe really works, and I don't care.
The universe wants us to question. If you believe in God, God wants us to question, wants us to use the gift of rationale and questioning and investigation.
The truth fears no investigation, because if something is true, it will be true no matter what you find out. No matter what you believe, the truth does not. It doesn't matter what you believe. The truth is going to be the truth, whether you believe in it or not. It's going to be there no matter what. If it's God, whatever it is, it will always be there, and you will always be able to come to know that, no matter what. Because if it's true, it percolates out into many other ways, and it shows itself in many ways.
And if you all the people in the past who spoke truth, like think of the Socrates and like the Galileos and like everyone who spoke what they knew to be true, it was so potent and powerful that the powers that be tried to kill them or tried to kill them or tried to suppress them. So we know from history that truth is so powerful, and when it's spoken, you know it's true when people aren't all riding that bandwagon. In fact, it's the rebel. Jesus was a rebel rouser, right? Like people were speaking the truth. Malcolm X was labeled America's #1 terrorist for just saying let's all get along, let's preach the love. So I totally get it. But we're an open audience here. We're not. I know when I broke out of religion, I still fully respect everyone's where they are. I grew up Muslim, my mom's Christian, but when I broke out, I was telling my Muslim friend, I was like, what you're calling God is actually my devil at this point in my awareness. Obviously, I lost that friendship and connection, but I'm just curious to know what your take on that is. Like, why are these secret societies worshiping Lucifer? And why are Christians and Muslims and Jews being told Lucifer is the devil? What's up with that?
Well, that all of that is based on a misnomer. Nobody's worshiping Lucifer, plain and simple. Nobody. There is no Lucifer. Lucifer is not a being. It's not a deity. There are no deities in reality. In the real world, you look out in nature. There's no deities there. There's no ghosts. There's no demons. There's no devils. None of that stuff exists in nature. All of that stuff only exists in the human mind. Okay. So whether you experience it, I've seen ghosts. I know that, and I've had a lot of discussions, with a lot of my friends, and we actually have these discussions, and we can still be friends about it because
you don't have to agree.
This is the thing. If people are so emotionally attached to any of these beliefs or their ideologies, that's fine. You're entitled to those things, but the way to get to the truth is you have to be willing to go far beyond anything that you've ever been taught, that you've been told. You have to be able to look at everything.
Let me see it from your perspective. It might not be mine, but let me just open up to a different way of looking at it. That's all that's all I like to do, and I expect others just to be open.
But so bottom line, nobody's worshiping Lucifer. Lucifer is it literally comes from ancient Greek phosphorus, or also alternately eosphoros. And I've got a full presentation written on all of this. So if anyone wants to explore all of this further, it's in my archives at patreon.com/liftingtheveil, where I have all of my full books, presentations, videos, everything archived there until I get my own website up, and then it will all be on the website eventually once I get that going. But for now, that's where it is. And I got to get a full film going out on all of this, but it's so deep that it will literally take me I don't know how many months to finish. So that's why I put off, doing all this. I'm like, oh my God, when am I going to get to that? It's going to take forever. But so anyways, nobody's actually worshiping Lucifer. They'll like the Vatican, they sing the hymns where they recite, the Latin hymns for Lucifer. And the reason why they're saying Lucifer in the hymn is not because they're worshiping Lucifer as God. That's not what it is. They're simply reciting a hymn in Latin.
Supernis luminaribus misceatur, flammas eius, Lucifer matutinus inveniat. Ille inquam Lucifer qui nescito casum, Christus filius tuus, qui regressus ab inferis, humano generis serenus iluxit, et tecum vivit et regnat in saecula saeculorum.
out of her my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues.
You know, if you speak any in Latin, you know, and you refer to the light, you know, the light of consciousness, like whether it's referring to, you know, Jesus or any of that stuff, you know, the day star, the bright and morning star. Lucifer is Venus. Lucifer is the morning aspect of Venus, which was ancient Greek phosphorus, which means light bearer, the bringer of light. And it goes so much deeper. It goes into the biochemistry of the human anatomy. It goes to the macrocosmic scale, which is known as Astrotheology, which is the study of the stars and the motions and the movements of the heavens. They ascribed names of deities to the stars and to the heavens and they attributed certain aspects and certain characteristics to those mythological archetypes, so that you will be able to grasp an understanding and you can teach that knowledge and pass it on, and it preserves in the memory, and you can write it down in stories, and that way it's a way of transmitting the knowledge. But so Lucifer simply refers to the morning aspect of Venus, and then there's also a evening aspect of Venus, depending on where you're located in the world. And what time of the year it is, what season of the year it is. When you look at the horizon just before dawn, you will see the planet Venus rising above the horizon, and she's the brightest planet in the sky because she's so close to planet Earth. So you see that light from the sun reflecting off of Venus, and it's extremely bright. Sometimes you can even see Venus in the midday blue sky along with the moon. You'll see Venus right there, and that's how bright it is. But so you'll see Venus rising first, and then shortly after that comes the dawn. You'll see the dawn rising up above the horizon. So you see, Venus is the heralder. It's the bringer of the dawn. Venus is the bringer of the dawn. And in ancient Greek, or all of these ancient other mythologies, it was referred to as the dawn goddess. She was the bringer of the dawn. She's the mother of the Savior. We're talking Isis in Egypt, the mother of the solar child Horus, Phosphorus, Eos, Eos, mother, dawn goddess, mother of the sun, of the dawn, which is the bringer of the dawn, mother of the sun. So Isis, mother of Horus, Mary, queen of heaven, mother of Jesus, son of God, light of the world. In pagan Germanic Austrian, and Babylonian Ishtar. And let's see, I get the Mesopotamian religions mixed up, but there was Semiramis and Tammuz. There was in Phoenician, there was Asherah, Ashur, and Baal. Baal was actually the storm god, but also an equivalent epithet of Jesus. And so all these archetypes, they switch and they shift, so it can get very confusing. But that's why you have to understand what the archetype means, because you can see how the archetype shifts through from culture to culture, from time period to time period. And so they do shift, but ultimately they're all different. It's Joseph Campbell's Hero with 1,000 Faces. There's a million different names for all of these mythologies and all these deities, but they're all the same thing. They're the planets and the stars in the sky, and that's what it is. That's what Lucifer is. It's Venus in the sky, heralding the dawn, the rising of the day star. And it goes much deeper. We'll be covering this much deeper in my full Easter film, which I've started. I got a pretty good portion of the way through it, and I've been planning on releasing it before Easter one of these years, but it ends up taking months and months of work. So Easter comes along and I never end up getting to put it out, but it will come out sooner or later. Maybe next year. Thank you for all your work, man. Maybe next Easter it will come out, but we'll go much deeper into all of that stuff. Literally getting deep into the etymology, the symbolism, and it will be proven. Thank you. What I'm getting from this, Cullen, is for those of us who are looking at things like
into religion, there's an invitation to look at it through the lens of astrotheology. Shout outs to soul brother Santos Bonacci, who I believe is also an Aries like myself, and I think is also Leo rising and Moon Pisces just like me. But yeah, research some of his work. Cullen goes over it in his work as well. So try to look at it as, from the beginning of time till now, all these different recycling of religion and mythologies. Try to see it all as talking about astrology, which was really kind of like the first religion before then it then became symbolically placed into religion. So if all of that stuff is astrology, I'm curious to know what your take is on, were there beings in the past that came down that had good intentions, and maybe some had bad intentions, and then maybe we called them gods? And what is there, like the other day I was doing some Kundalini yoga and I was doing all these chants, and I was like, I swear to God, this feels like some higher vibrational being came down and gave us like the blueprint on like the science of spirituality, or the science of vibration. You know what I mean? Like Kundalini yoga practices, and I was like, in my mind I was just intuitively feeling like an advanced culture came here and shared with us, because I feel there are some traditions and religions that don't feel like they have the soul sucked out of them, and it's just all dogma. And one of those was the Kundalini yoga practice. So I'm curious to know, what do you feel about those like good intentional beings, maybe not so good intentional beings, and are there some religions or cultures or practices out there that still have like a very potent good intention to help us break? Were there beings who came here and they're like, hey, this is how you break free and become enlightened?
Again, this is where I deviate from pretty much every other person out there, and again, this is where everyone cancels me, and we'll turn off the show for me having saying this, and for me having this perspective that I do is I used to believe in all of that stuff. Like I said, I got started with all of this from Ancient Aliens, on History Channel, and that was because I was fascinated with all of that. I used to fully for several years up until very recently, I basically just put all like the UFO alien stuff off to the side, and it's not relevant for me anymore whatsoever. If they reveal themselves, great, I'm all for it, but until then, that's not my concern.
It's a distraction.
That's not the part of my work, because the origins of my stuff, it goes much deeper than actual physical, literal beings, although I do have a very unique perspective on all of that. Again, I don't believe in demons or angels or any of that, because they all have actual esoteric significance that is symbolic. These are symbolic archetypes. For example, angel literally comes from angle, etymologically, and we will go much deeper and deep. Like, I've literally got almost a full film presentation just dedicated to that will be coming out soon. Wow. I'm almost finished with that one. I just haven't gotten to that final push to get it finished yet, but it will be.
Cullen, can I just pause and acknowledge your drive and can I just acknowledge all the work that you're putting into this, into your content creation, and just thank you for all of that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All of us.
Yeah, definitely. No sweat. But so it's true that they do actually exist subjectively. Like, people do legitimately have these subjective experiences. Yeah. But obviously we haven't shown that they're in an objective, aspect of our reality, like of nature. It's like, but what we do know is we can prove it scientifically, we can prove it etymologically, we can prove all of these things, through human anatomy. And that's what all of my work does, is specifically where I'm sort of breaking, cutting edge, is actually somehow correlating all of this stuff directly to human anatomy and human physiology in ways that nobody has ever, there's some ways that some people have covered it, like George Carey, God, Man, Word Made Flesh, R.A. Schwaller de Lubitsch in some certain aspects, in some regards. Goes back to the ancient Greeks, obviously. Pythagoras himself had said, "If you man know thyself, and ye shall know the universe and the gods."
That's my tattoo right there. Know thyself, I'm infinite love. Yeah.
Exactly. And know thyself, and ye shall know all the gods. But literally, all the stuff that I'm putting together, it's showing just how true that actually is, like on levels that I never even imagined.
Yeah.
And I'm not going out looking for any of this stuff. It just, through synchronicity, it just happens to come together, and I'm like, holy crap! Something is working in mysterious ways that is showing me all of these things that that I'm interested in, but I never expected to find any of this stuff. But so that's how I refer, the angels and the deities. But specifically, we could go very deep into the specifics of it. Again, we'll get deep into the etymology, the linguistics, as well as the symbolism in this new Symbols of Power film series that I've got coming out on that, referring to the origins of the English language, and specifically the origins of English, which comes from Anglish, Anglo-Saxon, Anglish, which is Angelish, which is the Anglish, which is the Angles. The Angelos links to like many different other etymologies, to ankle, to uncle, to ankh, to which refers to the angle, which is an ankle. The ankle is an ankle because it's an angle, which is an L shape, which is L, which is God. So the ankle is an angle, which the angles are the angels, because the angels are literally there. What does angel mean? It means messenger. Angel means messenger of God. The angles are the messengers of light. The messengers of light is called astrology, is the measure of the angles of the deities, of the Elohim. The 7 Elohim are the 7 planets that we can see with the visible naked eye. The inner 7 planets are the Elohim of the Bible. They are the gods. They are the Anunnaki. They are those who from heaven, and that's not actually, the Anunnaki doesn't actually mean from heaven, those who from heaven to earth came. That's a false translation by Zecharia Sitchin, who literally is an outlier. He's the only one who came up with any of those stories about, Nibiru and all of that. He's the only one who came to that. Literally all the other scholars are unanimously in consensus. So Zecharia Sitchin was lying about all that stuff.
Wow.
He made it all up. He made it all up because he was a high-ranking Freemason, and his job was to. I felt
that intuitively.
And his job was
reading his books because I felt he was like deviating from.
It's all garbage. It's garbage. Yeah. Zecharia Sitchin's books are garbage. There's nothing true in them whatsoever. And I hate to say that because I mean it's fun stuff. It's great. It's great to learn. But if you're learning that stuff, you're filling your head with garbage. It's false knowledge. It's not true. None of it is true. You need to go to the actual scholars. And again, so anytime you have like this, like, oh, well, there's this one outlier. He's the only one who said all that stuff. So does that mean?
That's a warning signal right there.
Does that mean he's the only one who has the truth, and all the other people are just shills, and they're just, they're just the academic liars and the frauds for the Freemasons? Or is he the only Freemason who is somehow has the truth and is revealing the truth because he's a Freemason, and all the other academic scholars are just the Freemasonic shills working for the Freemasons? So you see, like, but what it is it's called Dunning-Kruger effect. Like, anytime you get some single person who is a complete outlier in their field, someone like Dr. Andrew Kaufman, who's like, oh no, viruses are just exosomes, and he's the only person on planet Earth who is trying to make a case for that, and literally everyone in the entire field are like, there's no confusion between viruses and exosomes. They look the same, they have the same materials, they use the same process, but they're not the same thing. So it's like anytime you have this one person, trying to upset the entire, and I'm not saying that doesn't happen. It has happened throughout history. Look at Tesla, and so there are occasionally some, few random, geniuses who can actually overthrow the entire everything that we've known about something. But it's very rare and few and far between. So it's not good to just like automatically jump to assumptions like, oh, this one person's got all the, they're revealing the whole truth and everyone else is wrong. Turns out, you got to watch out for that stuff. It's called
Dunning-Kruger. Such a trap. Dunning-Kruger?
In psychology, it's called Dunning-Kruger effect, which is
Wow.
where you have someone who is not an expert in that particular field or that particular thing, and at that level, you think you're the most confident, you're the most sure and confident in the world about that thing, and it's because you simply don't know like how deep that water is. It's like once you really dive into the depths of that water, you realize, I don't actually know as much as I thought I did.
Yeah.
So it's an inverse bell curve. It's the Dunning-Kruger effect is like your peak of confidence is when you're a beginner, or when you're not even a beginner, before you've even begun to walk the path. But then as you get more adept, you realize, it's a lot more challenging than I realized it was. And so you get that there's this hump that you got to overcome, but on the graph it goes into a dip. Your confidence dips. And then as the linear progression time progresses, you learn more about the thing, your confidence begins to rise again, and you start to gain mastery and expertise, and then your confidence goes back up, but it's never back as high as it was like before. Your confidence is always at the peak, which is useful in some regards. Like, for example, like some people who are so naive that they don't know like that something isn't possible, like they'll actually have the ability to achieve the impossible because they don't yet know that it's actually impossible.
Their ignorance is a blessing in a way, because it's not limiting them. Yeah.
It happens sometimes, but it's not it's not the norm. So it's not something to hang your hat on, but it does happen occasionally. Like there are stories in some scientific discoveries where these teams of youngsters, of newbies, ended up discovering these amazing things because they simply didn't know that they weren't supposed to. Like they didn't know that it was impossible to do yet. Yeah. And so in some regards that is very useful, but it's not a wise thing to to always go about seeking knowledge based on
shout out to Billy Carson. I really respect his work, and then he I feel like he's continuing some of the work that Zecharia Sitchin did with the Sumerian texts and the Emerald Tablets, actually. Cullen, I'm just curious to know if we can use words to liberate ourselves, based on what you said about it's all like as below, so above. What's going up there is going in here. When you said the 7 inner planets, that's what triggered this remembrance. And it's like know thyself, and you will know the gods. And I feel like all of these things take us from outside of ourselves, but really the biggest secret that we're looking, like, the truth is out there. X-Files, it's like the truth is in here. And so okay, let's say now, like based on just talking to you, I realize, okay, it's all in here. So what practices or wisdom can you share with us to, how, if we know this is where the solutions are, this is where I can be free, sovereign, empowered, the answers are all here. Do you have practices that you do that help you bring yourself back internally and fully take advantage of this divine body, or how we can use the body or this knowledge to set ourselves free?
Yeah, there's that. So there's several aspects to that. Is it can work either way. Like what's out there is literally just a reflection of what is within. So you can go about that either way. Like you can learn through science. So I've covered this in some of my most recent videos. I call it the twin pillars of truth, which again refers to the twin pillars of Freemasonry, Jacquin and Boaz, left and right, the twin pillars. But I refer to it, I apply that to the twin pillars of truth, being scientia and gnosis. Gnosis is ancient Greek, meaning knowledge or wisdom, and it refers specifically to inner knowledge or inner wisdom. It refers specifically to knowledge gained through personal experience. Like, somebody can you master that thing because you've lived it, you've been through it, you've seen all the ins and outs of it. So it's something that you've experienced. It's an experiential knowledge, which is subjective, it's personal, it only applies to you. You can't convince anybody else of your gnosis. It's impossible. That's where science comes in. The only way that you can share your knowledge with somebody else and show it to them objectively, to where you can prove it to them so that they can also come to know it other than having to randomly experience it through their own direct experience. So if you want to have a shared experience of truth with somebody else around you, you can't do that through gnosis. Like you can't tell them your own experience. Like you can, but you can tell them your experience and you can describe it as best as you can, but it's not going to be the same thing as like them actually, they have to experience it for themselves. I'm getting a
flashback of doing magic mushrooms and being like, I experienced the divine, look, it's proof. And then it's like, when I tried to explain it, I'm like, this is not doing it justice. Come out the same, does it? Yeah. Yeah, you can experience it, and this happens all the time. You have epiphanies, you have these awesome thoughts, these awesome, oh, I just realized this thing. That happens all the time. I mean, but then when you come to, it happens to me every hundreds of times a day. I have all these amazing thoughts and stuff, and I'm like, oh, that's going to make an amazing video. And I go to record it, and then it comes out. And after I listen to the recording, I'm like, that's garbage. It's, my scrap pile is huge. My scrap pile is bigger than my published stuff. Wow.
Like I'm throwing things in the trash all the time because it doesn't end up making the cut. But so anyways, in order to actually to have a shared experience of knowledge with somebody else, the world around you, how to teach other people knowledge is they have to come to their own gnosis on their own. But the way you teach other people is through science. Science is Latin, meaning knowledge, meaning to know. So gnosis is Greek, meaning to know through experience. Science is Latin, meaning to know, but rather through actually experimentation, outward experimentation, by actually cutting things apart and seeing how they work. That's what science is for. So science is meant to measure and to come to know the world that we live in, our environment, this reality that we experience. Whereas gnosis is the way to directly have your own subjective experience with that outer reality. So those are the twin pillars, what I call the twin pillars of truth. You have to have both in order to come to a full, complete, holistic understanding of how reality actually works. Not just how you think it works, not just my intuition, though. Intuition is great, but it only gets you so far. It only gets you as far as being able to know something for yourself. In order to show somebody else what you know, you have to go beyond intuition. You have to actually be able to show them something. You have to. So that's what my channel, my work, my presentations, that's what I'm doing is I'm literally trying to show people what's inside my mind. And if I could show you what I see visually and what I think and what I experience inside my mind, that's what I'm doing through the presentations that I'm trying to show you the symbols, show you the words, show you all the science, show you all the evidence in whatever way I can to make the intangible tangible, to make the experience of what we know of as God, and to actually be able to prove the experience of spirituality and consciousness and all these things, and love and all these things they're intangible. You'll never be able to prove God. It's like, bullshit. I can prove all of these other things that basically point to one thing that we could call God, or a super consciousness, a supreme intelligence, an organizing principle, something that works in nature, and it works the way it does because there are laws of how it works. It's like, we don't make these laws. It's how it works. It's how it happens. That's objective. It's something that can be proven. It's something that can be known. And these are things a lot of people tend to dismiss, or they ignore, or they don't want to accept it when you try to explain all these things. But the inner experience and the outer experience. So you can come to know yourself by knowing the world around you. You can come to know the self by knowing the other. If you
either
know,
or.
Exactly, either or both simultaneously.
Or
but
both.
So it can work any either way. But to get back to the main core fundamental thing that you were asking there was about what practices,
using it to set us free, or what practices to help us know ourselves.
There's tons of different modalities out there. All of them are good. You can. So that's the thing. Pick which one resonates with you. What do you want to do? Martial arts? Do martial arts. Do you want to do? But these are fundamentals. Like, these are the basics that everyone should be learning from the moment of birth. Like, these are the fundamental basics that need to be taught in every school, not just PE, physical education, which is like just play dodgeball, play games. Physical activity is good, but you need the fundamental understanding of why physical activity is so important for when you become 90 years old and you want quality of life and longevity of life, not just extending your lifespan. We've got to protect the elderly from COVID, even though they're isolated and suffering from dementia in nursing homes and, all these things. It's about quality of life, not just preserving people's lives in misery for as long as we can, trying to hold them in no, don't die yet. You're miserable, but please don't die. It's about quality of life. They want to be functional, active. They want to have autonomy, not have to be placed in a nursing home. Mowing your own lawn when you're 100 years old, like Ellsworth. I forget his 94-year-old vegan man. Still a practicing physician up until pretty much the day he died. Pretty much. I mean, fully functional, fully autonomous. That's what we want. So pick whatever modality you want, whatever works for you. If it's bodybuilding, do bodybuilding. Just don't do it with steroids or drugs. Do it with a holistic.
There's many roads that lead to that. That end solution. That connection. Cullen, I feel like I could talk to you forever, but I would like to conclude by saying, if we could transmit you right now to a channel where the whole planet is watching, and we get to like the movie They Live, right? So if we can do that for you and get you onto the mass TV, cable channels, what would you want to share with humanity as a simple, hey, if I have this 1 minute to share, what would I share?
That's just too vague. It's like, I don't even, there's so many.
If you just trust whatever wants to come through, because it's a little different. It's different than sharing all the wisdom you've shared. It's like, hey, in a nutshell, this is what I'm trying to say. And I love what you said earlier about, hey, listen, everything that I'm doing is really trying to say, hey, this is what I've received to know to be true. And it's all reminding us that there is this higher intelligence. It's like, there's, whether you call it God or the universe or source. Like, I love that you just summed up, that's why you do what you do, and that's like the bigger picture, putting all of this information together to know that it's like to have that knowingness.
Well, if we're going on like, the measures of what's the most important, the most important is what I was just talking about, is physical fitness, physical health, diet, nutrition, mental health, physical fitness, which mental health is physical health. Work your body. It's going to clear your mind. Do both. Do one or either or, however you want to do it. But they both go together. But the mental health is your gut health first. Start with gut health. That will improve your mind. Don't start with the mind and neglect the body. Start with your diet, nutrition. You have to do whole food, plant-based. Not everybody has to go vegan. I would recommend everybody to go vegan. And yes, most people on planet Earth can go vegan. There's very few limitations, genetic mutations where you don't produce enough carnitine, but you can supplement for things like that. But everybody has to go whole food, plant-based. Like, you have to. Like, this is a rule. Everybody has to do this. It's not something that you get to choose. You do not have a choice, especially if you have any hopes for the future of not living in a pandemic dystopian medical tyranny, where you're afraid of all these super viruses and all that stuff. You have to go whole food, plant-based, not just to protect your body from all that stuff, but to prevent them from emerging in the first place. So that's probably primarily, but other than that, I would say the most important is ideologically. How do we come to know the truth with the best methodology, the best formula, and that would be the trivium method of logic and the quadrivium method of studying the basic 7 fundamental liberal arts, also corresponding to the 7 Hermetic principles. But to summarize that in a nutshell,
is that a book, Cullen? Quadrivium? Is that a book?
The Quadrivium is a book. It's a must own. Like everybody, if you want to know the fundamental basics of the universe, the Quadrivium is astronomy, music, geometry, and arithmetic and math. So those are and you combine the Quadrivium with the Trivium, which is logic, rhetoric, and grammar. Those are the Trinity is the intellectual Trinity. That refers to the pyramid, the trinity of the mind, the intellect, whereas the quadrivium is the outward sciences. How do we know the world around us? And the trivium method is how we process the information, the data that we're receiving about the world around us. But so the fundamental principles of how to do that is to basically open your mind. Do not be afraid of learning new things. Don't attach yourself to. Don't be afraid of exploring outside of Christianity. Don't be afraid of exploring other religions. Don't be afraid of Don't be afraid of words or deities or terminologies like Lucifer or any of these other. Don't lose the fear. Don't limit yourself to anything like that. The more you place these conditional boundaries and these limitations and these barriers on the way your mind is able to think, when you break down those barriers and you realize that it's okay, you're not going to go to hell, you're not going to die, you're not going to suffer from learning new things from other religions and and learning things outside of your comfort zone. The more you explore those things, the vastly more holistically intelligent you will become. And I mean that in every sense. I mean that emotionally. I mean that interpersonally, your ability to have great relationships with other people. Everything improves when you break down these barriers and you stop labeling everything on left versus right, all these different dialectics and these different, things. So
I would just preface by saying, be discerning as well, because there are some materials and books that kind of lead into portals. So I fully get what you're saying. I love that. Go into it with that childlike, almost like what you were saying. The child is the one that was able to win. There's this event that I went to where there was 100 people. We're all playing this game to break free from the money matrix. It was Robert Kiyosaki has this board game. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Oh yeah.
And literally there's hundreds of people, all entrepreneurs and real estate people, and it was the first person that won was the youngest kid in the room. He broke free from the matrix and won. So I love that.
There you have it.
Have that openness is what you're saying, and not label, because we're getting stuck and almost trapped with those labels. I love that.
There you have it. Yeah.
And we just have Linda, who's asking, what are your, maybe where would you guide our audience if we're not acquainted with your work? Where would you recommend to start? Do you have a specific playlist you'd like us to start? Should we just throw ourselves in there and free flow?
Yeah, I do. Actually, I've got lots of different playlists on my channel. Basically, I don't really have a start here, type of thing like that. That's the thing, is I'm not a linear person. It's very hard for me to do things in a linear fashion.
Sure.
Because I just do things as it weaves together. It's a spherical web of connections. So you can follow any wormhole connects to another thing. So you can follow all these things however you want. But I do have starting points on the playlists. There's multiple different topics that are fundamentally important that everybody should know about in order to have the best quality of health, the best quality of life for yourself, for your family, for the world at large. So there's health nutrition, there's government and conspiracy, there's the symbols of power playlist,
highly recommend that one.
Which I include in my larger playlist, which is understanding symbolic language. So for most people referring to this specific discussion that we're having, they'll probably want to start with the understanding symbolic language playlist. That gives you the fundamental basics, and it will give you, everything in between. It will take you from beginner all the way to master level, depending on how quickly you're able to latch on to, to that sort of stuff. And,
it is an initiation. I feel like you are initiating, because now we will never speak the same way again. We'll never hear things the same way again. It's a whole playing this reality on a whole other level, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's always a progression. Everything works in spirals. And the spiral, the vortex is spherical. It's a toroidal dynamic. So that learning process is ever growing. It spirals into the center, and then it expands outward again, and then it repeats on and on infinitely. So we're always learning. We're always growing. That's literally the meaning of evolution, by the way. Literally means to roll outward, whereas involution means to roll inward. Comes from the root etymon of volve, which is the same root word which gives us company Volvo. Because Volvo literally means to roll. So Volvo is referring to the wheels, the wheels rolling, the volve. So evolve means to means to roll outward. Involve means to roll inward. So it's a process of evolution and involution.
I just
so
had
this
like
is the duality.
A mindgasm. Thank you.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, it goes much deeper. It goes much deeper than that. That's one that I really love, dude. It will go much deeper into it. That's also in this new Symbols of Power film that almost is completed. The one about language and English and angelish and all that. It's got so much in it. So like it covers a lot of ground. But yeah, beautiful. You can look forward to that.
Cullen, I appreciate you, brother. You are such a gift to humanity with all the time and energy you've shared with us here, and that you've continuously shared on your social media, and with such a pure heart of just wanting to help and you give so much. So I just want to acknowledge you and thank you for who you are and all that you've done from that place of being. And it's very clear to me, like what that you've put it all together. We don't have to go out. Like if we had to do all that you've done, like not everyone would do that. Not everyone has the stamina or whatever you have that has led you to getting on. Maybe some people won't even come out of those places back. Like they'll go in and never come back. So I want to thank you for coming back and bringing this wisdom back to us in a way that's digestible, and putting it all into social media, that's our number one way of consuming right now. So thank you so much, brother. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
You're always welcome. And if you have anything big coming up, please let us know. We'll invite you. You can promote it. What do you have coming up in the next little while that you're excited to create and share?
Well, again, there's a ton. Like so honestly, it changes on a daily basis depending on how things go.
I get it. I'm getting you. I'm starting to get you, Cullen. Yeah.
Yeah, but the main thing is I plan on getting a website up. I plan on probably immediately is I need to get this Donald Trump / QAnon book series that I've already got full articles published. I want to get it as an actual hard copy book.
Okay.
So I want to do that because it's one of those timing things. 2020 election.
Okay. I completely did not follow the QAnon. I was just like, that's a trap, and I just did it.
It is a trap. It is a trap.
Okay.
It is a trap. But my book series goes deep. The whole it's a wild rabbit hole as to why and how it's a trap.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Cullen, how can we support you? I mean, like, we're putting this out. You're going to put it on your network. I'm sharing with my network. How can we support you? Let us know about your Patreon. Let us know about your social media. And more than just following you and supporting the Patreon, maybe I'm intuitively feeling as a healer and a coach, like, is there someone in the community that you're like, hey, I would love someone to come in and help me with this. I just, as a brother, I want you to sustain and continue to thrive. And I'm just feeling like this, like thousands of books on your shoulders right now, energetically.
That's true. The biggest thing holding me back is what I want is I'm going to look for someone who's like a qualified, successful editor, because I want someone like I've already done all this work, and what's holding me back is I'm like, I don't want to go back through all of it and have to rearrange and reorganize all of that and figure out how to publish it into a book, and that's it's probably my own like limitation. I'm like,
Yeah.
you know, I need to break through that comfort zone, but I want someone to, you know, help me edit the stuff and put it all together to where, you know, I've already done all the like really complex hard work.
Yeah.
I just need to figure out how to get it all out there. But
great. So let's put that out there, because your genius is in just getting all the information, right? Like as a Cancerian, I just see like this big ocean of wisdom, and then someone comes in and maybe their genius is, okay, this should go here, like you said, very non-linear. So maybe someone whose genius is like the left brain structure organization, who can take this pool of info and then put it in a way that feels better. So if there's someone out there,
I just need someone who has the actual experience, who has like, you know, like real publishing experience, for, you know, being actual like journal editor or, you know, publisher and things like that. But for immediate support, just if anyone wants to find, you know, more of this stuff, it's all archived at patreon.com/liftingtheveil. And then I'm posting it all the time on all my social medias and YouTube. So, you know, follow me there if you're interested in, you know, checking out more of that. Don't mind my personal attitude, because, you know, on social media, I'm very pressed for time. So I sort of don't care like how my attitude comes across on social media. I should, but I don't, you know, I don't have time for that.
You're on a mission, brother.
The YouTube channel is where it all comes together. So, you know, that's the main thing that I emphasize. But
brother, thank you. And I just want to say for you, definitely like the sustainability, the longevity, I just vision you doing what you do best, and then maybe having someone else to take the parts that you're like, this is not, this is where I kind of dip, my energy dips, or I lose it. So if we can all just hold space for brother Cullen right now to remain in that vortex of alignment with your greatest being and your greatest flow of what your genius zone is, and then praying and setting an intention that you manifest the perfect person or people to kind of take their genius zones and help you, so that it becomes like a powerful spiritual machine.
Exactly. Yes, an engine. Awesome, man. Well,
thank you.
Let's do it again sometime. Let's get together, and
would love that.
There's always more to explore.
100%. Cullen, before we conclude, I'll do a 1 minute infinity healing, which is basically a process I've created which allows source, God, universe, whatever words you resonate with. But we always like to honor our guests by doing an infinity healing process, which is what I've been doing for the last 10 years, and sharing one of the nuggets that you shared and do a process so we actually integrate it. So I'll just trust intuition in terms of which area of all the things you've shared. So that way we're not just talking about it, we're actually integrating and implementing it. So you're welcome to join, or you're welcome to just be present. So very simple. The whole process gets activated with your consent, which is your sacred yes. So whether you're listening to this in the future or with us right now, starting now, we're activating an infinity healing, asking source, God, universe to connect to us right now, to activate an infinity healing process so that we can master our knowledge of self. That's the first thing that came based on the wisdom our brother has shared. Would you like an infinity healing to master yourself, know thyself, know yourself fully, know who you are, and in knowing who you are, know who others are, and know who the God, who the gods are, that the divine is? If you'd like that, just say yes. Yes. And also to master, I would say also to powerfully magnetize to us all the information that is best for us to know. If you'd like that, just say yes. So that's giving permission to magnetize all this info towards us. And then definitely what stuck out for me is the health aspect and the longevity, the vitality. So if you'd like an infinity healing to master your health, making it a priority, mastering this physical body, mastering our mental ability, mastering our gifts, mastering our even using our words consciously so that we're using them to create our ultimate reality. If you'd like all of that, just say yes. Take a deep belly breath, breathing it in, and letting go of any of the things that might be in the way, whether it's a belief, an emotion, a fear, anything that's in the way of us being able to do this intention is being cleared right now. And you can just pay attention to your body, your energy, and see if there's anything that's being released see if anything's being embodied, integrated, activated. Beautiful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Amen. So it is. All right, Brother Cullen, bless your heart. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I appreciate all that you are, all that you do. Keep shining, brother, and holding space for this team or this person to come along. I'm looking forward to catching up on the Lifting the Veil videos, and excited for this new book and everything else that you do. Thank you.
My name is Cullen Smith. This is Lifting the Veil. You can find all of my full books, presentations, videos, films, articles, posts at subscribestar.com/liftingtheveil. Patreon has suspended this work and my account and income stream for this content. So if you are a supporting patron, then please, I ask you to move your support over to subscribestar.com/liftingtheveil. And I have just established a completely free, uncensored, totally free speech social media platform that replaces Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, every other platform all in one on liftingtheveil.locals.com. You can download the Locals app and you can join our group and have totally free speech and totally uncensored, unrestricted content access. And there is also a ton of exclusive content, and I will leave the cited reference links in the description down below. So you can check that out for all of my full content, and I will see you guys in the next video. I rely solely on word of mouth, and the recommended algorithms are not recommending any of my videos or films anymore. My channel has literally been completely restricted, so I rely on your help by sharing my work around if you appreciate it, and leave me your comments. I definitely want to know what you have to share and what you have to think about all of this stuff, and I will see you in the next video.